Hello, everybody. Welcome to day 7 of our community's free real estate education course, designed to partner with First Tuesday Real Estate Education. Our course is designed to help you get paid while you are pursuing your real estate education. This is unlicensed people that are earning commission while they're pursuing their real estate license, and this has been a huge deal. I'm not here to preach from the pulpit here, or tell anybody that this is something that's impossible, and I'm just making things up. Yesterday we had our first hit already. It was a huge deal in the office, and do you know how many phone calls that it took? You know how many phone calls? It took 7. So Zach Bach had people running through Commission Boot Camp yesterday, and he had them learning about how to generate leads, how to cold call, and how to start with their sphere. And so people started making their phone calls while on this Commission Boot Camp meeting, and they started generating leads immediately. And do you know what the first lead was? It was somebody who decided that they needed to leave California and move to Texas. That's the absolute, honest to God truth. And do you know who the phone call was made by? It was made by my mom. So shout out to Hillary, who is pursuing her real estate license right now, for generating the first lead here as a part of our community real estate education school. This is a huge deal. Finders getting commission for generating leads as a finder while pursuing their education course. So if you want to do this at home, all you have to do is open your laptop, and you get to participate with licensed agents right here in the office, or you could come into the French Valley Hub and come in and work with us. We have a very dynamic atmosphere going on right now in the office. It was very cool having Sky Vasquez in here yesterday. Christian Tikas is here every day, and it's always awesome having him around. Andres has been fantastic. Amy, of course, is amazing. And then Cora has been in the office. She's been incredible to have around. So we have all this really awesome energy in the office right now. JP Wright is also pursuing his real estate license. Trevor is out here right now. He's been participating every day. He is already licensed. And so, there are people that are fishing together. And that's the goal. The goal is to fish together. So, because it's boring to fish by yourself all the time, right? And so when Jesus fed 500 people with 2 fish, the symbol of the teacher, Pisces, wisdom, the best way to feed 500 people with 2 fish is with education. And so we're out here doing this together. So all you have to do is open your laptop. We'll go ahead, and Amy will post the link to the Zoom meeting there in the comments so that you can join her today. Today's going to be a fun day. Yesterday we made people dial. Amy's got a new platform designed for you today. Every day it is a different thing, and so Amy's going to be leading it. And then on Wednesday, Amy is going to be leading it as well. Andres and Zach are also a part of it. So this is and have been. Oh, here we got some love. Good morning, Tom. Appreciate you tuning in here this morning. Glad you got some company here on Zoom. Nice hat. There's a lot of people that are asking, "Can I have a hat?" And yes, you can have a hat. So we're getting this set up where our community, it's about a group of people together. And so we want to get people working together. We want to get our little street team going right here in French Valley and throughout the state of California. Because if you're watching in the state of California, you can get paid as an unlicensed person, as a finder. It's been completely, and we want you to be able to do it without having to spend $4,000 on a suit. Just get an Our Community shirt, Our Community hat, get out there, start identifying yourself as an agent in training, as a finder. Start asking people if they're looking to leave the state of California, and if they want to leave the state of California, can I set you up with a real estate professional? I'm actually an agent in training, and I am working right now with Our Community Real Estate School. It's a lot of fun. If you can't have fun while you're doing it, why do it, right? It's kind of a Zen concept. Work is play. You don't have to be licensed. We'll train you. In fact, anyone can join us. So the other part of this is we're getting a lot of calls from people saying, my broker, I don't know what to do, or, I got my license and I don't know where to start. So if you don't know where to start here. come on in with us, or open your laptop if you're immunocompromised, or maybe you don't want to come into the office. Totally understandable. That's totally fine. Throughout the state of California, not everybody can come into French Valley, and so just open up your laptop and get started. Yesterday, all of our agents got started calling, and like I said, guess how many calls it took for somebody to find their first lead? It took 7 phone calls, just 7. And the first lead was somebody who was looking to leave the state of California and go to Texas. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and jump in. The Zoom chat is open. So if anyone has any questions at any given time, feel free to go ahead and ask those questions. Andres is joining us once again as our Zoom interpreter so that our Spanish people have the opportunity to learn in a language that is comfortable for them. And of course, EXP is opened up in the country of Mexico now. So if you're watching here south of the border, of course, you're welcome with EXP as well. Yesterday was an awesome day. Today's going to be an awesome day. So if you're feeling discouraged, and I know that people feel discouraged sometimes, that's totally normal. Today, my minivan broke down. Today, I had to have my sister pick me up. Last week, my moped tire blew out. These things happen. You can't give up because things get a little bit difficult. By any means necessary, keep moving forward. If you have to run, run. If you have to crawl, crawl. And I can't remember the exact quote right now by Dr. Martin Luther King, but I started thinking about it this morning, and I started just crying, honestly, thinking about this journey that we're on, thinking about how important it is to keep moving forward. And, I'm not here above this. My Tesla did not drive me to work today. Okay, my sister picked me up, right? So at the end of the day, I'm not here preaching at you. I'm here with you, in it with you. If you want to learn more, feel free to go to educateempowerexplore.com or visit our Facebook link, or you can call me, text me at 951-691-7798. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what to expect here. So Commission Bootcamp is led by a couple of different people, but we're adding new leaders constantly. Like I said, Sky Vasquez is coming in. He's being a leader. Cora is coming in. She's being a leader. We're looking for people to join that want to lead, right? So Zach Bach is an Air Force veteran. Great guy. Feel free to reach out to him directly. His phone number is 951-401-5025. He is a friend of mine, and he taught yesterday, like I said, for 2 hours. We already got a lead. We already got somebody looking to leave the state of California. And so we're going to be sending that out, and hopefully we'll be getting somebody paid. That person being my mom, who's also looking to get licensed. Amy Serpa, also a combat veteran. She served in Iraq. If you are interested in what we've got going on here, you can also reach out to Amy. She's right there right now. They closed the curtain for me. 951-436-1466. She's tuned into the Zoom every day, and she is also going to be on Commission Bootcamp today. And then Andres, who is translating right now. Andres speaks Spanish, which is fantastic and has been very useful, as does Christian Tiquez. So we've got several Spanish speakers here in the office that can help you out. If you want to contact Andres directly, feel free to do that, 951-775-2956. And he can set you up, and he speaks your language, and speaks a language you're comfortable with. Great human being, and he is translating right now on Zoom. So if you want access to that Zoom backend, feel free to let us know, and we'll get you in there so that you can have access to all of us in the backend. And furthermore, if you're already licensed and you want to be a trainer, we would love to have you. We would love to have you come fish with us. Sometimes the best way to learn is to teach. Sometimes the best way to hold yourself accountable is to be around a group of people who expect to see you every day, if not here in person, at home, opening up your laptop. Unlicensed finders, unlicensed people can earn commission, just like agents can earn commission, and we're all here to really work together. Seasoned agents, new agents. One of the biggest phone calls that we're getting right now is, can I join you as a new agent? I don't know what to do. Yes, absolutely. We have our grand opening coming on March 18th at 11 o'clock, and that's going to be on Benton Road here in Winchester, Suite D402. And that's going to be, we're just going to let people come in and see the office, see all of the new things. The orange wall is up. We're going to put up our community neon sign, You can come in here, like I said, and work with us. So we've got a lot of exciting things going on that I wanted to make sure that everybody got a chance to find out about. So if you're licensed and you want to come out and help us join our community and be a trainer, help give back to an industry that has made a lot of our lives possible as far as our success. And the truth is, I really want to upset this whole game. I really want to change the whole real estate industry. The truth is, I want to bring it out of the wineries, off of the golf courses, into the high schools and onto Main Street. One of the biggest problems that real estate agents have is they're constantly hanging out with a bunch of real estate agents. So what happens is we as real estate agents bring the community in, and we go out to the community and we all start working together to improve our community. And that's the concept behind what we've got going on. So if you want to join us, if you're feeling like a servant leader, if you are a teacher, if you are a leader or coach, if you're a business owner and you want to be on our community news, we really want to help people eat here. So Tom said, I forgot about the class for boot camp. That started yesterday at 10 o'clock. It's going to be going today as well. Amy, if you could post that link in the comments on the Our Community page when you get a chance, we'll go ahead and make sure that you get access to that. That starts today, immediately following this class. So we're going to go ahead and jump in. At this point, I'm going to check the Zoom chat, see if anybody here has any questions. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Amy, Alexis, Arthur, Daniela, Gavin, Christian Tikas, my brother, tuning in as well. Appreciate you guys watching. Again, if you need the translation in Spanish, hit that interpretation button below, and you will get this translated by Andres. Okay, we're going to jump in. That was all of the exciting stuff that we have going on at our community. That was how to join the school and all of that good stuff, how to be a trainer. We have a lot of fun things going on. Now it is time to talk about all of the stinking boring stuff. It is time to get to the nitty gritty, right? Here we go. Day 7 notes. We're going to talk about prior occupant use, which includes death and all of that scary stuff. Marketing condominiums, the home inspection report, pest control reports and repair, due diligence obligations, listings as employment. We're going to be reading pages 131 to pages 169 today for those of you that have access to your First Tuesday curriculum. We're going to try to get as much of that knocked out in the course of the next hour so that you don't have a bunch of homework. On Mondays, we have special guest instructors. Yesterday was awesome. Next week, you guys are going to learn from Christian Stone live on cold calling. You're going to learn from Susan Ebert about door knocking. You're going to learn from Melissa Huck about open houses. The class is already on YouTube. They taught to the high school students yesterday. So you're going to get an opportunity to learn from them live on Facebook, and you're going to get an opportunity to learn from them on Zoom here. So I'm going to drink out of my Wonder Woman glass here. And as I say, before I start reading to my kids at night, I have to wet my whistle. And then we'll jump in. And then we've got some family tuning in. Amy did now post the Zoom link. So if you want to join into Commission Bootcamp immediately following this class, or at any time in the future, feel free to do that. That is a huge comment. So it's like, I don't know if I can do this. So just understand it's there. And if you want access to Commission Bootcamp, that link does not expire. It will always be there. It will work for every Commission Bootcamp in the future if you see this video on YouTube. So feel free. Tom says, hello, Amy. Gremlin Family Kennel says, hello, David. Good morning, family. Good morning. Amy says, hi, Tom. I would love to have you join us in Commission Bootcamp today. There is no license necessary. We will train you. There are limitations to what you can and cannot talk about because you're not licensed yet. But that being said, if you are licensed and you want to join as a trainer, feel free to do that as well. Everyone is welcome. That's the point. There's lots of people struggling. A lot of people don't know what to do next. We want to clear that up. And we're going to walk you from the beginning, when you watch this video, when you decide maybe I want to get my real estate license, to starting to work for commission right away, ASAP. You don't have to wait to get licensed to do that. All the way through all of the boring paperwork, all of the classes, and all of that stuff. Tom says, Amy, I'm having to do it tomorrow. I'm going to be tired for a while, or tied up for a while today. Don't worry about it, my brother. The point is, this is on YouTube. If you miss a class, every single one of these classes have been logged on YouTube. So feel free to go back and do that. All of the classes are in order. Day 1 through 6, which was posted yesterday. Same thing for the high school classes. When there is high school participation, I don't post the public link for that, but all of the classes are in the adult session. So feel free to catch up. If you're starting now, that's just fine too. You can start working towards earning commission today, right now. You don't have to have a license. So Bianca said, good morning, David. Good morning to you, my friend. Semper Fidelis to you and your family. Bianca is working towards becoming a financial planner. She works at a financial planning office. She talked to my wife yesterday about financial planning because our EXP stock is blowing up, and we've got some things that we've got to take care of and make sure that we're planning for the future. And then her and her partner are going to come in and speak for our financial planning session on week 12 because we want to make sure that you guys are set up for success, that you guys have your S-Corp filed, because we want you to plan on making $100,000 in your first year. We want you to plan on making money. Don't ever listen to anybody tell you that you will not make money in your first year. In fact, you could start making money right now. That's the point. We want to eliminate the barrier of entry. If you're in California, let's start working. Let's get to work. So Bianca is going to help you get set up for financial success, help teach you what people are not teaching you in real estate school. That's the point of our Mondays and our special guest instructors. Amy said, good morning, Leica Palmer. I hope to see you in Commission Bootcamp today. I added you to our team group chat this morning. Amy also runs a group chat that she has going for people, helping them stay accountable, checking in with them every single day and at the end of every week. So Amy, thank you for continuing to help out. There he is. There he is. Amy Serpa, I'm on my way right now. Fantastic, family. We're excited to have you with us. I will be popping into Commission Bootcamp today and working as well. I'll be looking forward to seeing you on there, my friend. And then Gremlin Family Kennel said we're a local family kennel located off Scott Brigg Roads. Please support our family business, gremlinfamilykennel.com. That's what it's about right there, family. Guys, come in on Friday or come in on Monday. We'll have you on our community news. We'll have you on the show. We'll interview you. Or we'll have, there's 3 ways to be on our community news. We'll send out a reporter to you. Somebody will come out and interview you at the family kennel. They'll check out have everybody meet the dogs, the pets and whatnot. You could come into the studio, bring in some of your pets here and whatnot. Or what you can do is you can just open up your laptop if you're wanting to stay away from people. We just totally understand that. And this Friday we have this Friday we're going to have a hypnotherapist on the show, which is going to be fun. Our community says, awesome, we're excited to have you. You're doing a great job for our community, guys. We appreciate you, family. That's what it's all about. We've got a lot of cool things going on. We're developing an app, which is going to be a lot of fun. We will make sure that we plug you into it, Gremlin Family Kennel, so that people know where to find you guys. All about the community, all about the community. Okay, family, we're going to jump into this boring stuff, like I told you. That's what we do. That's how I learned about the Finder program. Everybody was telling me, David Serpa, don't teach the boring stuff. Don't do it. It's going to be a waste of your time. You have better things to be doing. No, family, I do not have better things to be doing. It's how I learned about the Finder program so that people can start getting paid commission right now. People don't have the ability to wait 6 months or a year to get licensed or however long it takes until they open up the licensing tests again due to COVID. People need to eat. Wonder Woman, water bottle, boring stuff. Here we go. Here we go. Today we are going to read, and I forgot to tell you guys this, we're going to read from pages 131 to 169. And this is where life gets a little bit boring, but I try to make it as interesting as possible by popping in some valuable knowledge where I can. So this is chapter 19. You guys can jump in wherever you want to jump. We have all these classes logged. This is prior occupant use, affliction, and death. When and when not to disclose. Here we go. A seller's agent employed by a seller locates a buyer for a seller's real estate. Prior to making an offer, the seller's agent hands the buyer the seller's transfer disclosure statement, or the TDS. The TDS discloses the seller's and agent's knowledge about the present physical condition of the property. All other mandatory property and transaction disclosures are made. The buyer does not inquire into any deaths which might have occurred on the property. Ultimately, the buyer acquires the property and occupies. Later, the buyer is informed a prior occupant died on the property from AIDS more than 3 years before the buyer submitted their purchase offer. The buyer would not have purchased the property had they known about this event. The buyer discovers the seller's agent knew of the prior occupant's death on the property resulting from AIDS. The buyer claims the seller's agent breached their agency duties by failing to voluntarily disclose the death to the buyer. Did the seller's agent breach their general agency duty to the buyer by failing to disclose the death on the property recurring more than 3 years before the buyer submitted their offer? No. The seller's agent has no affirmative duty to voluntarily disclose information to a potential buyer regarding a prior occupant in their death, whose death from any cause occurred on the real estate more than 3 years prior to the purchase offer, or who was afflicted with the HIV virus or AIDS. Now, editor's note: deaths on the property which occurred within 3 years of the offer are treated differently. Further, the buyer and the seller's agent have an affirmative duty to disclose prior deaths, regardless of when they occurred, when the death has an adverse effect on the property's market value. So the transfer disclosure statement and the seller property questionnaire are set up really to protect not only the buyer but the seller, so that they don't suffer from back lawsuits when somebody finds out about something later on down the road. So I always tell my clients, disclose, 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 no matter what. And also, in addition to on the transfer disclosure statement and the seller property questionnaire, add in all of the improvements to the property to help balance out some of those things that you're not so happy about. Disclosure on inquiry. Regardless of whether a death occurred within 3 years of the buyer submitting a purchase offer on direct inquiry by the buyer or their agent, the seller's agent is to disclose their knowledge of any deaths on the real estate. On intentional misrepresentation or concealment of a known fact after a buyer makes a direct inquiry is a breach of the seller's agent's general duty owed to the buyer truthfully to respond when the seller's agent represents the seller exclusively, or a breach of the buyer's agency duty owed to the buyer, since an agent is the buyer's representation in the transaction. Further, an inquiry by the buyer into deaths indicates a death on the premises is a fact, which might affect the buyer's use and enjoyment of the property. Thus, a death occurring on the property is a material fact. On an inquiry into deaths by a buyer, an affirmative duty is imposed on the buyer's agent to either investigate the death or recommend an investigation by the buyer before an offer is made, unless the offer includes a further approval contingency on the subject of death. An agent who discloses an inquiry that they do not know if a death occurred on the real estate is to hand the buyer a memorandum stating the buyer has made an inquiry about deaths on the property, the agent has disclosed all of their knowledge concerning the inquiry, and whether the agent or others will further investigate any deaths on the property. Now, you have a fiduciary duty to your buyer to find these things out. Now, there are a lot of people that will not go see property if they know that there is a death on the property. So if you end up in a situation where you're showing property an hour from your home, an hour and a half from your house, I wouldn't wait until you get to the front door to let your clients know that they do, in fact, that there was a death on the property. Some of them might not make the drive in the first place. Okay, consider a buyer's agent who was aware a death occurred on real estate within 3 years of the purchase offer. The value of the property is not adversely affected by the death. Thus, the death is not a material fact about the property which needs to be disclosed. The buyer does not risk their agent if any deaths have occurred on the property. The buyer does not ask their agent if any deaths have occurred on the property. After closing, the buyer learns of a death and is deprived of pleasurable use and enjoyment of the property. The buyer's attitude about the death is an idiosyncrasy which was unknown to their agent. The buyer claims their agent breached their agency duty by failing to disclose the death, since it inflicted an intangible harm on the buyer, preventing them from the enjoyment of the real estate. Here, as a matter of prudent practice, the buyer's agent ought to determine if a known death might affect the buyer's decision to purchase the property. The buyer's agent has a greater agency duty of care to protect the buyer than does the seller's agent. Thus, a buyer's agency discloses any death occurring on the property within 3 years or otherwise, especially if they believe the death might affect the buyer's decision to make a purchase agreement offer. It is the buyer's agency duty to investigate and disclose material facts about the property and the transaction. Thus, a greater burden is placed on the buyer's agent to know and understand their client, known colloquially as the know your client rule. Conversely, buyers have a duty of care owed to themselves. Buyers themselves have a duty to inquire and discover facts readily available to them or their agent in an effort to protect their own personal interest. That was chapter 9. We're moving right along. This is chapter 20. We're talking about marketing condominium units. Managed housing. A buyer seeking to acquire a unit in a condominium project or any other residential common interest development, or CID, is bargaining for living restrictions and ownership operating costs unlike those experienced in ownership of self-managed single-family residences or homes. Ownership of a unit in a condominium project includes compulsory membership in the Homeowners Association, or the HOA, and the HOA is charged with managing and operating the entire project. As a common owner of the project, an HOA member, use and operating restrictions are placed on most types of conduct, including parking, pets, guests, signs, use of the pool, recreational, and other type of common facilities, patio balconies, care and maintenance of the unit, structural alterations, and the leasing of the premises. The implicit bargain in becoming an owner member is the consent to conform conduct to meet extensive use restrictions in exchange for every other member doing the same. The standard for conduct are found in the use restriction documents created for the project, such as association bylaws, covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC&Rs, and operating rules. HOA governance. The HOA has a board of directors and committees, both consisting of owner members who are appointed to oversee the conduct of all owner members and their guests. On committee's recommendation concerning a member's violation of a restriction, rule, or policy of the HOA takes steps to enforce compliance, usually by a notice of violation to the offending owner member. A fair comparison to the member's occupancy in a multiple unit housing project, such as a condominium development, is a tenant's occupancy as an apartment complex of equal quality in construction, appearance, and location. The behavior of a tenant in an apartment is also controlled by use restrictions, operating rules and policies established by a landlord, and generally more responsive to in competitive environment. As a competitor, a landlord is subject market conditions when establishing guidelines for tenant conditions. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm going to go ahead and make the screen a little bit larger and stop denying the fact that my eyeballs don't work properly anymore. As a competitor, a landlord is subject to market conditions when establishing guidelines to tenant conduct. Unlike a HOA, a landlord does not rule majority vote committees or directors. Yet the conduct of tenants is regulated and policed in very much the same way as the conduct of a member of a condo project is policed. Security arrangements implemented and maintained for condo projects and apartment complexes are the same, i.e. the property is maintained so its use is safe and secure from dangerous effects and preventable criminal activity. Both the landlord and the board of directors of an HOA are responsible for the safety of the users of their respective multiple housing projects. Both are managed housing. Classification of member obligations. The bargain entered into on acquiring a unit in a CID is understood by the prospective buyer to include a highly involved socioeconomic relationship with all other members of the project's HOA. A commonality of interest out of the CID ownership creates a relationship among the members built not only on the use of restrictions and operating rules, but also on financial commitments to one another. Financially, all members collectively provide all the revenue the HOA needs to pay its expenses. These costs include present and future repairs, restorations, replacements, and maintenance of all components of structures owned through the HOA or in common. Thus, the obligations undertaken by a prospective buyer who acquires a unit in a CID and the HOA's documentation of those obligations fall into two classifications: use restrictions contained in the association's Article of Incorporation bylaws, recorded CC&Rs, age restriction statements, and operating rules, and financial obligations to pay assessments as documented in annual reports entitled Pro Forma Operating Budgets, a certified public accountant, CPAs, financial review, an assessment of collections and enforcement policy, an insurance policy summary, a list of construction defects, and any notice of changes made in assessments not yet due and payable. Two types of assessments charges exist to fund the expenditures of HOAs. Regular assessments, which fund the operating budget to pay for the cost of maintaining the common areas, and special assessments, which are levied to pay for the cost of repairs and replacements that exceed the amount of anticipated and funded regular assessments. Annual increases in the dollar amount levied as regular assessments are limited to a 20% increase in the regular assessment over the prior year. An increase in special assessments is limited to 5% of the prior year's budgeted expenses. An extraordinary expense brought about by emergency situation lifts the limits placed on the amount of an increase in regular special assessments. Extraordinary expenses include amounts necessitated by a court order to repair life-threatening conditions and to make unforeseen repairs. The schedule for payments of assessments by a member varies depending on the type of assessment. Regular assessments are set annually and are due and payable in monthly installments. Special assessments are generally due and payable in a lump sum on a due date by the HOA, by a date set by the HOA when making the assessment. The buyer's expectations about assessments. To better understand the personal financial impact of assessment obligations, a prospective buyer of a unit needs to analyze the assessments based on the present and future annual operating costs the HOA will incur and the amounts set aside annually as reserves for future restoration or replacement of major components of the improvements. If the association's cash reserves are insufficient to pay for foreseeable major repairs to components of the structure, a special assessment is used by the association. Special assessments are an immediately call for additional funds from members to provide revenues to cover these extraordinarily or inadequately reserved expenditures. Arguably, repairs and replacements for which assessments revenues are needed to cover HOA costs are expenses any owner of a single-family residence might incur. However, the difference in a CID is the individual member cannot substitute time, effort, and personal judgment for how much will be paid when the repairs will take place, how repairs might be financed, or exactly what repairs or quality of repairs are appropriate. These decisions are left to HOA committees who hopefully vote based on the same concerns and ability to pay as the prospective buyer of a unit. Getting the financial house in order. To determine if an HOA has its finances in order, a prospective buyer may look to the financial reports held by the owner or readily available from the HOA on the owner's request. The HOA's current pro forma operating budget is the starting point for the prospective buyer's analysis of the financial impact the purchase of a unit in the CID will have on their income. Again, it is a regular assessment which will be increased if reserves are inadequate, and special assessment which is levied to cover an immediate expenditure for which insufficient cash reserves exist. On review of the HOA's pro forma operating budget, the prospective buyer can quickly determine whether cash reserve shortages exist. If they do exist, the only way for the HOA to get the funds into the reserves or immediately pay for the repairs or replacements is to increase the reserves or immediately pay for the repairs or replacements, is to increase the regular assessments, which are paid monthly, or call for a special assessment, which will lump sum the amount due and payable when set. HOA Assessment Enforcement Policy. Also available from the HOA is a statement on the HOA's policies for enforcing collection of delinquent payments of assessments. At issue for a prospective buyer of a unit is the method used for the HOA to enforce collection of assessments, e.g., does the HOA record notice of default and proceed with the trustee's foreclosure on the owner's unit, a default which may be cured by the payment of delinquencies and statutorily limited foreclosure costs, or does the HOA hire an attorney and file a lawsuit requiring a response a trial, and results in a personal money judgment against their owner, all of which has no limit on the dollar amount of costs and attorney fees to defend or prosecute, and if not paid, becomes an abstractive judgment, which is a foreclosable lien on the property owned by the owner and collectible by attaching the owner's wages or salary. HOA documentation. An association's participation with the seller's agent in an effort to induce a prospective buyer to enter into a purchase agreement and close escrow on the sale of a unit located within the project. Project is limited to providing the seller's agent, on written request from the owner of the listed unit, with documents which include items, statements, and reviews regarding the permissible use of the unit and the financial condition of the HOA, providing escrow on written request from owner of the listed unit with documents which include notices, statements, lists, and disclosures regarding the status of owner's membership in the HOA, and changing HOA administrative records to reflect the identification of the new owner if the prospective buyer purchases the unit. The HOA may charge a service fee equal to their reasonable cost to prepare and deliver the documents requested by the owner. Some communities charge this to the buyer or to the seller. They call it a beautification fee, etc., and so forth. Sometimes it's $600, sometimes it's actually a percentage of the cost of the property. In charge with the connection with the change of ownership is permitted, but is limited to the amount necessary to reimburse the association for its actual out-of-pocket cost incurred to change its internal records to reflect the new ownership of the unit. Within 10 days after the postmark on the mailing or hand delivery to the HOA of a written request from the owner itemizing the documents sought from the HOA, the association is obligated to provide them to the owner. A willful failure to timely provide these documents subjects the HOA to a penalty of up to $500. The role of the seller's agent. Unless a seller's agent is remiss or simply ignorant of their duties owed to the prospective buyers, the agent knows exactly what the CID information and documents are needed to properly market and disclose to prospective buyers the material facts about the condominium unit the agent has listed for sale. It's called transparency. Accordingly, it is the listing stage which the agent prepares the owner's request to the HOA to deliver up the CID documents concerning use restrictions and HOA finances. The documents are immediately available from the association and will be delivered within 10 days of the posted or hand-delivered request. The owner is obligated by statute to ensure the disclosures are handed to prospective buyers as soon as practicable. It is quite easy for the owner to request and quickly receive the documents from the association. Thus, the ready availability of the document confirms the disclosures and can, in a professional and practical manner, be made available to prospective buyer before the owner accepts an offer. However, once the owner lists the property, it becomes the seller's agent's obligation, acting on behalf of the owner, to diligently fulfill the owner's obligation to make the association documents available to delivery prospective buyers ASAP. Moving on to chapter 21, 141, we are reading to page 169 today, which will probably be humanly impossible in 22 minutes, but we're going to give it a shot. The home inspection report. Transparency by design, not default. The agency for a seller of a 1 to 4 unit residential property asks the seller to grant them authority to order a home inspection report on the seller's behalf. The home certification process is a cost the seller incurs to properly market the property if they are to avoid claims by a buyer about defective property conditions after a purchase agreement is entered into. The seller's agent explains the HIR is also used to prepare the seller's condition of the property transfer disclosure statement. The HIR will then be attached to the seller's TDS. Both will be included in the agent's marketing package presented to prospective buyers who seek additional property information. Now, a lot of sellers do not do this. A lot of listing agents do not encourage this. I'd actually never even heard of this before reading about this in this chapter. The interesting thing about doing this is it sort of removes this liability. It brings the disclosure to a new level. If you encourage a seller to get a home inspection report, it gives you the opportunity to say, here you go, you can order your own home inspection report as the buyer, but this is exactly what's wrong if you decide to enter into escrow with us. while you're in the negotiating process. Because right now, this is a massive seller's market, and inventory is very low. So if you already have that home inspection report done, you can actually save your seller some money down the road and prevent further negotiations, making it a smooth escrow by disclosing right up front. And of course, we have a fantastic home inspector we could pair you guys up with. On receipt of the home inspection report, the seller may act to eliminate some or all of the deficiencies noted in the report. Sellers are not obligated to eliminate defects they disclose when offering a property for sale unless they choose to. If a defect is eliminated, an updated home inspection report is ordered out for use with the TDS for property disclosures to interested buyers. The seller's TDS, as reviewed by the seller's agent and supplemented with the HIR, is used to inform prospective buyers about the precise condition of the property before they make an offer to purchase. Thus, the seller will not later be confronted with demands to correct defects or to adjust the sales price in order to close escrow. The property will have been purchased by the buyer as disclosed. Now, this is sort of an interesting tactic to take these days. Now, that being said, you may enter into a situation where a seller may not have, $300 to order a home inspection report. That is completely 100% okay. They can still fill out the transfer disclosure statement and the seller property questionnaire without necessarily having that home inspection done. A home inspector's qualification. This cannot be your dad or your uncle or your client's dad or uncle, unless your dad or your uncle is a qualified home inspector. Okay, any individual who holds themselves out as being in the business of conducting a home inspection and preparing a home inspection report on a 1 to 4 unit residential property is a home inspector. No licensing scheme exists to set the minimum standard of competency or qualifications necessary to enter the home inspection profession. However, some real estate service providers typically conduct home inspections, such as general contractors, structural pest control operators, architects, and registered engineers. Home inspectors occasionally do not hold any type of license relating to construction, such as a person who is a construction worker or a building department employee. However, they are required to conduct an inspection of a property with the same degree of care a reasonably prudent home inspector would exercise to locate material defects during their physical examination of the property and report their findings. So that's a little scary, right? Anybody could sort of slap that on there, I'm a home inspector. So you really need to make sure that you're working with a professional. Sometimes cheap is not always the best. Sometimes it's going to be a good situation to find somebody who actually knows what they're doing. Zachary Pitts runs an excellent company we could set you up with. What's the name of that company, Ann? The Home Inspector Company. We just started working with them. They had a home inspection with us on Laguna Hills this week, and they were stellar. They have an app. They walk through everything with our clients right there on the spot. So I'll go ahead and I'll get you that in the, maybe just go ahead and put it in the comments here. So I'm going to continue to read here for 12 more minutes, and then we'll get to the comment section, and I will answer whatever questions are on Facebook, whatever questions have popped up in the group chat on Zoom, and we will continue forward right now. Okay, hiring a home inspector. Sellers and sellers agents, again, are encouraged by legislative policy to obtain and rely on the content of a home inspection report to prepare their TDS for delivery to prospective buyers. The buyer's reliance on an HIR at the time of purchase agreement is entered into and it relieves the seller and their agent of any liability for property defects they did not know about or were not observable during the mandatory visual inspection conducted by the seller's agent. The buyer still needs to get their own home inspection. This is absolutely 100% true. Even if you get that report from the seller, it is your due diligence to your client that is going to make sure that you are helping them get a professional home inspection. However, for the seller's agent to avoid liability in the preparation of the TDS by relying on the HIR, the seller's agent needs to select a competent home inspector to inspect and prepare the home inspection report. Thus, the seller's agent needs to exercise ordinary care when selecting a home inspector. The inspection and report. A home inspection is a physical examination conducted on-site by a home inspector. The inspection of a 1 to 4 unit residential property is performed for a non-contingent fee. The purpose of the physical examination of the premises is to identify defects in the condition of the structure and its systems and components. Material defects are conditions which affect the property's market value, desirability as a dwelling, habitability from the elements, and safeties from injury in its use as a dwelling. Defects are material if they adversely affect the price a reasonably prudent and informed buyer would pay for the property when entering into a purchase agreement. As the report may affect value, the investigation and delivery of the home inspection report to a prospective buyer is legislated to precede a prospective buyer's offer to purchase. The home inspection is a non-invasive examination of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems of the dwelling, as well as the components of the structure such as the roof, ceiling, walls, floors, and foundations. Non-invasive indicates no intrusion into the roof, walls, foundation, or soil by dismantling or taking apart the structure which would disturb components or cause repairs to be made to remove the effects of the intrusion. For example, a home inspector is not typically going to test the sprinkler system. They're not going to take apart walls to investigate a spot on the wall to see what the causation might be. So that's something that further due diligence by, like, if you find mold on a property, they're not going to cut open the wall and start checking to see why the mold is there. That would be something that would need to occur on a later date by like a mold remediation company or a mold specialist. And we have those as well, and we can always set you up with those people. Non-invasive indicates no intrusion into the roof, walls, foundation, or soil by dismantling or taking apart the structure. Okay, we talked about that already. The home inspection report is a written report prepared by the home inspector, which sets forth the findings while conducting the physical examination of the property. The report identifies each system and component of the structure inspected, describes any material defects the home inspector found or suspects, makes recommendations about the conditions observed, and suggests any further evaluation needed to be undertaken by other experts. I really think that this is so important to encourage a seller to get a home inspection, and unfortunately I didn't even realize that was something that even was important until I read this book. Isn't that wild? And yet everybody continues to discount the reading as boring or not important. It's David Serpa, why are you teaching this stuff? I'm teaching it because I'm learning in part, right? But I also get to spread some extra information. All right, the Home Energy Rater. Consider a first-time home buyer who, acting on their own and without the advice of a buyer's agent, buys a fixer-upper for a starter home. In the first month of a residence, the uncapped air conditioning ducts, badly sealed window frames, and insufficient ceiling insulation causes the buyer's utility bills to skyrocket past the pre-closing estimates for operating the property as the owner. Had the buyer retained a buyer's agent prior to making an offer or entering into a purchase agreement, the buyer would likely have been advised to ask for a home energy audit. With the energy audit in hand, a buyer can incorporate the cost of the recommended energy efficient updates into the total cost of acquisition they are willing to pay for the property. A buyer can also use the information to compare the energy efficient use of the home in consideration to other properties before making an offer. In addition to ensuring the seller has hired a competent home inspector, complete the home inspection report, a buyer's broker may also insist a home energy audit be performed by a competent home energy rater, which can be the home inspector. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I've never had anyone talk about being a home energy rater during an inspection. This sounds like some California stuff. Look at that. California state system used to create a standard rating for energy efficiency and certified professional raters. Now look at this. Now, just because California says it's a good idea, is it a good idea? And you want to have a reasonable home inspector look at it. Yes, do that. But the truth is the state of California, our locality, approved the HERO program, which ended up costing home sellers an incredible amount of money by attaching liens on their properties, setting them up with exorbitant loans at an 8 to 11% interest rate in order to acquire solar panels or an air conditioning unit or energy efficient paint or new windows. You know, you think that this is a situation, they tell you, oh, the buyer can acquire it. Or, oh, you know, this is something that needs to happen. All new homes are demanded to be fit with solar. What we're doing is we're making home buying extraordinarily expensive, and we're creating this green industrial complex, which green energy is important, and it's being developed at the rapid rate, right? But what would happen if California stopped mandating solar, but instead allowed these efficiencies to move forward? We would have better access to it. But anyway, solar's garbage anyway, and we should be on nuclear. But I'm sorry to get off out in the woods. I tend to do that. I just there are really great things about living in California, like the Finder program, like participating in this commission program. It's very innovative. It eliminates the barrier of entry for getting paid. So I love California in that we make things possible that are not possible in any other state. But one of the things that's frustrating sometimes about California is some of the bureaucracy and some of the stuff where we mandate change, and it sometimes makes things a little bit more difficult. So sorry to go off on a tangent. Structural pest control. Look at that. Get it taken care of. Contact Richie's at Deanza Termite. No, excuse me. Oh my gosh, that was a misstep. Deanza Termite's also a company out here. There's also Black Knight Termite Company. Richie's is a termite company which I work with, and Richie Perez runs Richie's Termite Company, and I have a little bit of I lean towards him because I love him and he's fantastic. But I'm not putting anybody on blast. But anyway, get your termite reports taken care of. I'm going to keep moving forward before I get myself into any more trouble. There we go. Okay, so contact